everyone. Thank you for having me today. I have a short speech. Today we find ourselves at a crossroads. Our leader, who has been with us through so many battles and challenges, has been sidelined. We've lost a steady voice, a guiding hand, a trusted ally, and yet, as I look around this room, I don't see a team that has been defeated or weakened. I see a team that is as strong as ever. Why? Because this team was built on more than one person's shoulders. We were forged through shared trials, through late nights and early mornings, through victories and setbacks that each of us faced together. Our leader helped lay the foundation, yes, but it is each of us together who built these walls, who made this team a family. We are still here, we still stand. And if there's one thing I know about this team, it's that we don't give up. We don't break down, we adapt. We find strength in each other. We move forward, no matter what stands in our way. So let us face whatever comes next as a team that has found its true power within. Together, we are unstoppable. Together, we are strong. And together, we will continue to rise no matter what lies ahead. Let's show the world what this team can do. We are CSEA. Thank you.
Thank you, Juan.
Thank you, Mr. Rodriguez.
Good evening. Thank you for having us. We'll let the music do the talking, and then we have two selections for you tonight. And so I'd love to chat with you briefly and have the students introduce themselves in between the two songs. Perhaps a little early for Christmas music, but my wife made me get the decorations out anyway, so here we are. So I'd like to have the students introduce themselves, if I may. Let's start with Israel.
My name is Israel Aguilera, and I'm a senior at Santa Fe.
My name is Manuel Guillen, and I'm a senior at Santa Fe.
Hi, my name is Michael, and I'm a senior at Santa Fe.
Hi, my name is Kimma Warmack, and I'm a junior at Santa Fe.
Hello, I'm Victoria Cardenas, and I'm a senior at Santa Fe.
Hi, I'm Julia Hernandez, and I'm a sophomore at Santa Fe.
Hello, I'm Elise Ramos. I'm a junior at Santa Fe.
Hi, I'm Alexis Ruiz. I'm a junior at Santa Fe.
Hi, I'm Olivia Martinez, and I'm a sophomore at Santa Fe High.
Hi, I'm Sophie Carlos, and I'm a senior this year at Santa Fe.
Hi, I'm Jaden Solorzano. I'm a senior at Santa Fe.
Hi, I'm Ana Sofia Gutierrez, and I'm a senior at Santa Fe.
Hi, I'm Isabel Pedrosa, and I am a senior at Santa Fe.
Hello, I'm Raiden Fox, and I'm a sophomore at Santa Fe.
Hi, I'm Josh Lopez, and I'm a senior at Santa Fe.
Hi, I'm a senior. My name is Venus Perez. I'm the choir president this year, and I'm a senior at Santa Fe. And I would just like to thank you guys all for giving us the pleasure of performing amongst you guys tonight. We really appreciate giving this opportunity. I would also just like to say thank you guys for supporting us this year and all of your contributions. Don't go unnoticed. We appreciate you, and on behalf of the program, we'd just like to say thank you. Hope you enjoy the next song.
And this is, I just want to take a second and introduce my colleague. This is our accompanist, Mrs. Kyojin Kim. So that was Bell Carol. That was one of the holiday pieces we're preparing for our winter concert. And I'd like to share with you a piece called Hands Are Knockin'. This features some Arabic text woven in with English. And the Arabic text refers to brotherhood and collaboration and working together. I'm really proud of the work that these young people do, and I understand that that there was just a special board meeting about student well-being, and I could tell you without a doubt, and not because I'm the teacher, but just because of the power of music and working together, that for some of these students, that making music is where they find solace and belonging and peace. And so can't thank you enough for all of your support. This is Hands Are Knockin'. I'm going to move to the other side, just so that I'm not overwhelming the camera. All right. Good. Very good.
Naftahu atanana, alhamdulillah. Naftahu kulubana, alhamdulillah. Naftahu atanana, alhamdulillah. Naftahu kulubana, alhamdulillah. Namadu ediyana, alhamdulillah. Namadu ediyana, alhamdulillah. Na 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 na, alhamdulillah. Na 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 na, alhamdulillah. Naftahu atanana, alhamdulillah. Naftahu kulubana, alhamdulillah. Hands are knocking, 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 hands are knocking. Brother, will you let them in? Sister, will you let them in? Brother, will you let them in? Sister, will you let them in? Namadu ediyana, alhamdulillah. Namadu ediyana, alhamdulillah. Na 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 na, alhamdulillah. Na 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 na, alhamdulillah. Hands are knocking, exhausted. Hands are knocking, brother. Will you let them in? Exhausted. Hands are knocking, brother. Will you let them in? Exhausted. Hands are knocking, brother. Will you let them in? Exhausted. Hands are knocking, hands are
Okay, move for the minutes for October 8th, it's so moved by Mr. Lopez, seconded by Ms. Conchola. Second, any discussion, changes, deletions? Secretary call the roll.
Trustee Canchola?
Aye.
Trustee Castaneda Gallegos?
Aye.
Trustee Lopez? Trustee Mendez?
Aye. 6:02, minutes from the October 8th regular meeting. Is there a motion?
So moved, Mr.
Moved by
President.
Mr. Castaneda, seconded. Second by Ms. Controla. Any questions, discussion, deletions? Secretary call the roll.
Trustee Canchola?
Aye.
Trustee Castaneda Gallegos?
Aye.
Trustee Lopez?
Aye.
Trustee Mendez?
Aye. Approval of the agenda, 7.01. Consider approval for tonight's November 12th agenda. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Lopez, second by Ms. Controla.
Mr. President, I'd like
Yes.
to amend tonight's agenda, if I may, and I'd like to share the rationale out here. When we're ready to hear the rationale.
For what?
I'd like to move item 15.04 a little earlier in the agenda, so it becomes the new 14.03. And if I move to make that amendment second, I'll give you the rationale.
Okay, so you're gonna move the orders of the day, 15:04, is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
To what point did you want that moved to?
It would now be the new 14.03, and everything at 14.03 would move down exactly.
I'll second that.
Okay, second.
For the, yeah.
Okay, so there's no vote, we're just moving for consideration? There's no objections?
No objection, Mr.
Okay,
President.
so I'm gonna try to remember that at 14:03.
Thank you.
Okay, so Secretary call the roll.
Trustee Canchola?
Aye.
Trustee Castaneda Gallegos?
Aye.
Trustee Lopez?
Aye.
Trustee Mendez?
Aye. Okay, now we'll move on to, okay, we have one more minutes for November, now the presentation of teaching, learning, recognition presentations. Oh, we had, yeah, so.
So
Madam
I would like
Superintendent.
to introduce the principal of Santa Fe High School, Mr. Craig Campbell, who is going to share with us about our extraordinary student.
Hey, Mr. Campbell.
That was the best part of the night, so Abby, come on up, we'll just start you right after. All right, good evening, esteemed board, cabinet, superintendent, Dr. Oviedo. It's with great pleasure that I get to stand here tonight to talk to you about one of our outstanding students at Santa Fe High, Abigail Satina, also known as Abby. So we're gonna talk a little bit about you. Are you gonna be okay with that?
Yes.
Okay, good. All right. So let me start by saying, like, Abby is not your standard average high school student. She's taken advantage of everything high schools had to offer. We talk about activities, we talk about athletics, we talk about academics, and she's done all of those things, and she's done it all with grace and done it really, really well. Let me talk to you a little bit about some of those things. So 2 years on National Honor Society, ASB Spirit Coordinator last year, an Algebra 1 tutor during her sophomore year, Miss Santa Fe Springs Princess 2 years in a row, her sophomore year and her junior year, 4 years of varsity volleyball, but 2 years as a captain, 3 years of varsity basketball and 2 years as a captain. She did a real estate internship. How'd you like that?
Amazing.
She wants to be in commercial real estate. She did a commercial real estate internship. And she is currently our ASB president. So I asked some teachers, right, which is what I normally do, ask teachers, I say, tell me a little bit about this person. Now, I know her differently than they know her. Obviously, they have her in class every single day. And so, Coach Gay, Abby's an outstanding athlete. Her leadership, love of the game, and drive helped us become league champions this year. Her dedication to athletics and academics is the reason why she's so special to Coach Gay, as well as to Santa Fe High. Ms. Gladfelter, I've known Abby since her freshman year. Had her in Algebra 1, had her again in Algebra 2. She's watched her grow into a mature, respectful, and kind young lady. I knew her as a great leader in my math class because she was always willing to help her peers. Now as her ASB advisor, she enjoys seeing her take leadership and guide the cabinet while maintaining all A's in her classes and being an outstanding athlete. I'm so proud of her and look forward to her bright future after high school. Congrats, Abby, you deserve this, Ms. Gladfelter. Mr. Fernandez, who's here in the audience with us. As the president of our ASB, Abby's shown remarkable leadership skills, guiding our student body with vision, empathy, and integrity. She's been instrumental in organizing school events, promoting her school spirit, fostering a sense of family in the Santa Fe community. Her commitment to serving others and making a positive impact on our school culture is truly inspiring. Mr. Fernandez. And lastly, Mr. Stratton. Abby's an incredibly positive and diligent student. Being ASB president means she has an extensive demand on her time and attention. However, she's focused on her academics and can always be counted on to submit thorough and high-quality work. It's not uncommon to see Abby doing homework in between games. So like JV volleyball's playing, she's in the stands with her Chromebook doing work all the time. When you want to schedule an appointment with her, because she doesn't schedule with me, I have to schedule with her. It's like the 10 minutes that she has in between A to B, but that's all the time that she has, and she's just incredibly focused on what she does. So Abby does everything with a smile, and I think what you see up here right now is what fills every room on our campus when she's in it, or in the gym, or wherever she is, and you ask her anything and she smiles. She always says yes, she's always willing to help out. And it's really infectious, and I think that's the thing about her that's different, is you manage school, you manage activities, you manage athletics, you run an ASB, you do all these things with a smile and with a team approach, and I think that's something that's unique about her. She says she wants to go to UCLA. Has that changed in the last couple weeks? No, UCLA, 4.11, still currently all straight A's on the transcript. She plans on studying business, economics, and marketing, and hopes to become a commercial real estate broker. Because she is who she is, her strong work ethic, her incredible personality, her drive, her unparalleled desire for success, we know that she's going to do great things when she leaves us. And Abby, we're proud to have you with us this evening. We're proud to have you be selected as the single one exemplary student from Santa Fe High School this year. You're an amazing young woman, and you exemplify everything we would want from a graduate of Santa Fe, even though we're not there yet. Like, everything we would want, you got to stay on the same path. But she's an outstanding example of what a graduate of a Whittier Union School should look like, regardless of the school. She puts the effort in, she puts the time in, she works hard, she grinds, and she does it with a smile. And so here tonight, we're happy to have with us Miss Abby Satina.
So hello, my name is Abigail Satina. I do go by Abby. And so right here in the crowd, I have my dad, my mom, my grandma, and our little sister, Hannah. So I wanted to just say thank you to them. But so I am currently a senior at Santa Fe High School. I did want to start off by thanking the cabinet, Superintendent Dr. Oviedo, and the Whittier Union High School Board of Trustees for honoring me tonight. So reflecting on my 4 years here at Santa Fe, I have felt truly honored to being able to call Santa Fe High School my home. And while it is bittersweet to realize that this is my final year, I know that I will always carry the spirit of being a chief in my heart. I take pride in my contributions to the vibrant culture on campus through my participation in athletics, academics, and activities. I would also like to express a heartfelt thanks to a couple other people who have provided me with invaluable guidance, love, support, and kindness. So thank you to my counselor, Ms. Bixler, to my volleyball team and coach, Ms. Brokenbell, to my basketball team and coaches, Mr. and Mrs. Reyna, and to my ASB cabinet and advisors, Mr. Fernandez, Ms. Hughes, Ms. Gladfelter, and Mrs. Homestead. Each of these individuals have played a significant role in making Santa Fe High School truly special to me. So, and above all, I would like to thank my dad for being my greatest supporter. He is always supporting me to do everything I wanted, whether it was to join a sport, participate in student leadership, or partake in a pageant. He always encouraged me and ensured that I had everything I needed to succeed. So, thank you all to everyone who have made this experience truly unforgettable.
Comments, and then we'll go to pictures. Go, Ms. Controlla.
Abby, first of all, you have amazing public speaking skills. People that are much older, some of them struggle with being in the forefront, and here you are, just letting it all out. I love that. And you have just in the little bit of time that you've been here, I can see so many wonderful qualities in your charisma, and that's going to take you a long way. And it takes a lot of effort to get straight A's and to be so balanced with everything else. So I know that you are set for greatness, so I want to wish you a lot of blessings in your continued academic pathway. You know, if I could be of any help to you, let me know. I work for the UC system. And I just know that you have a really bright career. I do want to say something to Hannah, because when you have a sister that is so bright, you know, I hope that you know that you have your own brightness so that you're never in the shadow. You have your own, you know, brilliant star that's going to shine very high. She's just an example for you, okay? So remember that you have your own wonderfulness. And to your parents, you know, que orgullo, right? Like how proud you must be already. And they always say that the fruit doesn't fall too far from the tree. And so I know that a lot of the great qualities are inherited and have been built because of your support. And so thank you for being amazing parents that other people can follow as an example. And again, you know, just continued success and continue shining so bright. Thank you.
Mr. Lopez?
Oh, sure. Abby, congratulations first and foremost on your success. You're definitely a machine, okay? You're definitely a machine, and what I mean by that, you get things done, okay? You get things done. You're getting the grades. You're getting involved in everything. You're being successful. So I just want to, you know, kudos to Mr. Fernandez for doing the great work. I appreciate it. And this is one unique situation. First time that I've been here, you actually, a student has actually recognized their father for their work. So thank you for that. Thank you for that. I appreciate that. I know mothers matter, of course, but thank you for highlighting his efforts as well. And I'm looking forward to your graduation speech. Thank you.
Mr. Castaneda.
Thank you, Mr. President. Abby, congratulations. I agree with everything my colleagues have shared so far. And the observation that I made when I walked in and you greeted me, you're one of the few that actually turned around and greeted me to the dais. Usually it's the other way around. And you just have such a presence. You walk like you belong here, and you do belong here, but you just have this poise and this presence that my colleagues have described. And I attribute that to the love that you've been marinated with from your parents, your family, and I'm so grateful that they're here to appreciate this moment, to see the fruit of all their love and labor. But you stand apart, and I can see why you were chosen to be identified tonight and acknowledged. And thank you for mentioning your supporters and your mentors by name. It's a great moment for them as well, because they've invested in you. And I'm so grateful that you're with us tonight. I get to sit next to you. I get to hear your report a little bit later on. But congratulations on all your success. Not just on what you've accomplished, but on the person you are. That's really impressive.
Miss Abigail, congratulations. Mr. Campbell was right. Your smile is disarming, and you show your light. I think most people, especially as you become a teenager, tend to dim their light and kind of hide it. But your light really comes through, and I think that's a gift that you have. And I really appreciate that you thanked everybody who's helped you up to where you're at. I think that matters a lot to recognize those people who are supportive to you. I don't know how you do it, sports, leadership, and academics. I could barely walk and chew gum at the same time. and just to see you excel like that, I think that's a wonderful thing. And I wish you the best of luck. I know you're gonna do well, but with your smile and your confidence, you're gonna be able to have doors open for you, not have to break them down so much. So again, congratulations, and come join us for a picture, and then join us at the dais. So why don't we come up and all get a picture with oh, yes. We'll present the certificate. Go ahead, go down.
So we're going to have a few different photos. The first will be with you and the board, as Mr. Mendez, President Mendez, shares with you the certificate.
Congratulations again. You guys are best. Very good. Come in close here. How do we look?
Okay, ready? Second. Okay, beautiful. 1, 2, 3. One more. Okay.
Good. Now family. Now
Hold
family.
on. If you want to take a picture.
Oh, Mr. Fernandez, of course. Excuse me. Mr. Russell. Oh, of course.
Sorry.
Oh, no, he's here.
Thank you. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Thank you.
And the next one is just with Abby by herself.
Okay.
And then after that, we'd love for all of Abby's family.
All right, ready? 1, 2,
Really walking
3.
you up.
One more.
We can have all of Abby's family come on up.
We can shift over just one step for this way. Yeah, there you go. Okay, perfect. Hold on, just 1 second. Okay, ready? 1, 2, 3. One more. 1, 2, 3.
And as Mr. Campbell and Mr. Fernandez take that photo, I'm going to ask if everyone from the Santa Fe family that's here to support Abby could come up for this next photo. We'll have to really squeeze in tight so I can see a lot of her ASB family that is here, counselors and staff that are here. Please come up.
Everybody there?
Be sure to fill in between Abby's placard and Mr. Jamero's placard. If you're tall, please make a second row. If we could make a second row for Mr. Flores and Mr. Campbell.
No, I'm going to be on the left.
Those in the center. Really in tight.
Second row.
We're going to need Ms. Steschler and Ms. Lupion
You guys
and
gonna come in here?
Ms. Vasquez to come on in tight.
All right, let's.
Arnolfo, yes, don't be hiding, Ms. Arnolfo.
Okay, let's. Ready? Okay, ready? 1, 2, 3. Hold pose. Ready? One more time. 1, 2, 3. Oh, my life.
As Santa Fe High School approaches the end of the first semester, we look forward to a successful and fun activities that will commence beautifully in the second semester. The first topic I would like to go over is fall sports. This year, we were so grateful to the Board of Trustees for the implementation of the first girls flag football team and league on campus. This sport allowed girls from all different backgrounds and sports to come together to participate in this steadily growing sport. In addition, we were thrilled to report that our fall sports, including football, girls tennis, girls golf, girls volleyball, boys water polo, and cross country, have all excelled in their seasons and made an impressive playoff run. We take immense pride in these accomplishments and are eager to see what our winter sports have in store for us. The next item is our Make a Difference game. So this Thursday on November 14th, we will be having our special education program known as Chieftain Friends take the field alongside our varsity baseball team in an exhilarating 3-inning baseball game. This event allows our Chieftain Friends to get a chance to steal the show and steal those bases. We are thrilled to have brought this particular event back, as the last time it took place was before the pandemic. Attendees can look forward to engaging events with games, music sponsored by Power 106, and delicious food. This is an incredible opportunity to get everyone on campus involved. And the last item we're going to talk about is our canned food drive. So as we approach the holiday season, Santa Fe High School partners with the City of Santa Fe Springs to collect about 1,800 cans to better assist our community. Students can contribute cans in their second period classes, and the classes will receive incentives based on the number of cans collected per student. The drive will conclude tomorrow, and we will package and transfer the donations to the Gus Velasco Neighborhood Center.
Very good, thank you very much. And we'll now start with our employee representatives, Mr. Francis.
Good evening. Oh, a little closer like this. Good evening, family, friends, administrators, trustees, and honored guests. I'd like to thank all of my WSEA brothers, sisters, and their families for joining me tonight. It is my privilege to speak on behalf of the dedicated and passionate educators All right.
We still heard you
though. It's my teacher voice. Who make a profound impact on the lives of our students each and every day. I would like to extend heartfelt, there we go, look at that. I would like to extend heartfelt congratulations to Trustees Conchola and Lopez for re-election and to Trustee Mendez for election to the Central Basin Municipal Water District. Congratulations. I'm pretty sure I'm going to speak actually beyond my allotted 3 minutes, so for that I preemptively apologize. Traditionally, mid-year retirements are indicative of underlying burdens that have become too heavy to bear alone. For Mark Gotts, teaching AP Lit on Zoom during COVID was too much. Earlier this month, Cynthia Garcia, the Expanded Horizons clerk at Whittier High School, retired after 36 years. I remember being a student at Whittier High School and seeing Mrs. Garcia work her magic. When I was hired as a teacher, I was pleasantly surprised to see that Cynthia was still at Whittier. Past few years, I've been privileged to work with both Whittier's Puente and EL students, and Cynthia always made sure that I had everything necessary to ensure student success. And it breaks my heart and raises an eyebrow to see her retire mid-year and miss out on the recognition she truly deserves for decades of hard work. In times of turmoil, we're faced with a fundamental choice: to retreat and recoil, or to reinvest and redouble our efforts. It's a choice that defines us, especially in moments when the challenges feel relentless. We often speak of our strength and unity, of being stronger together, but let's be clear, our strength must be built on trust. Without trust, we're no more than malleable clay, susceptible to being molded by forces beyond our control, sculpted to fit someone else's vision, not our own. Trust is a delicate thing. It takes time to build, yet almost no time to break. In these tumultuous times nationwide and in our district, if we are to move forward, we must not give way to the distractions of fringe fanatics or extreme voices that seek to sow division among us. However, it is our unity and our resolve that will see us through. We remain united as WSEA, the teachers, counselors, social workers, and psychologists, standing alongside our classified colleagues in CSEA, our instructional aides, clerks, security, kitchen staff, and transportation teams. Together, we're focused on one mission: our students. We're here to ensure their success not only while they're enrolled in Whittier Union, but long after they leave our doors. And let us remember that we're charged with educating, not indoctrinating. Our role is to build critical thinkers. Now, more than ever, that is incredibly important. And to give our students the tools to analyze, to discern, and to make sound judgments so that they are not easily swayed by the snake oil salesmen of life. As we look around, we cannot ignore the alarming trends. We saw a presentation earlier today. Mental health concerns are on the rise, self-harm and ideations are up, and more young people than ever report feeling hopeless. We work closely with our students, noticing these changes and doing all we can to support them. And while we faced heartbreaking moments, I had one last Friday, including but not limited to attending more funerals than we ever wish to, we must find strength in our mission. Each day we show up with renewed dedication, knowing that together we can be a source of hope and guidance, helping our students navigate their struggles toward brighter futures. In moments like these, it's tempting to give in to despair. As Dante noted in the Inferno, so here's your literary analysis, or reference. It is only at the gates of hell that we're told, abandon all hope, ye who enter here. For us, hope must never be abandoned. Instead, as Dante also noted, here all suspicion that needs must be abandoned, all cowardice must needs be here extinct. Let this be our resolve as educators, to keep hope alive and not let fear or hesitation weaken our commitment. Our students, our community, need us to lead with courage, to move forward with clear eyes and a steadfast spirit. This is why our unity, our trust in one another, and our commitment to our students are so crucial. We're here to keep moving forward, to support one another, and advocate for the resources, the respect, and the trust we all need to be the educators, mentors, and guides our students deserve. Thank you.
Thank you for those inspiring words, Mr. Francis. Juan, would you be giving the CSA report? Okay, so we shall skip that, correct? Okay, so we shall go to board reports. We'll start to my far right, not ideologically, but Mr. Lopez.
Sure, thank you, Mr. President. I'll make my comments real brief. Good evening, everyone. This is my report for the evening. I'll talk about my re-election for a bit. Even though the county has not officially reported the final numbers for the Whittier Union High School District Area 2 race, I can safely say I won. And I want to thank you, Mr. Francis, for recognizing that. I appreciate it. I also want to recognize two folks to my left. And congratulations, Mr. President, for winning the Central Basin race. And of course, my colleague, Trustee Conchola, congratulations. And I'm gonna say my remarks, appreciation for all those that helped me for the next month. For now, however, I want to congratulate all the coaches and the teams that made it to the CIF playoffs, and best of luck to those that are still in it to win it. Thank you.
Ms. Conchola.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Trustee Lopez, and the same for you.
Thank you.
It's not official yet, so knock on wood, there's nothing major changes happening. I do publicly want to acknowledge WSCA and Matt for the wonderful support, endless hours of walking and making phone calls and just really going beyond to support my candidacy to be elected for as trustee for Area 3. I don't take this responsibility lightly. Somebody asked me, when did you know you were gonna run, or when? And my answer was, I've been preparing for this role my entire life. Not only in terms of my background in education, because I've been an educator for almost for 41 years, and I just turned 60, so that tells you that the majority of my life experiences have been in education, but it's because it's been a calling for me in terms of making a difference in my community through and positive change through education, because that was my experience as an immigrant, as a first-generation college student. And it wasn't something that was given to me because, my parents worked very hard and I worked very hard to get my degrees. I come from a working class community. My biological father was a farm worker. My mother and I call my dad, the man that raised me, were factory workers. And so their hard labor has now allowed me to serve in this capacity and be part of this dyad. I serve my community. Perhaps I don't have, hundreds of years of history in Santa Fe Springs, but I'll tell you that my heart has been here since my family moved here in 1979. I'm a product of Whittier Union. I'm a product of Pioneer High School. My daughter is a graduate of Pioneer High School. My son will be attending Santa Fe High School next year, God willing. and he's currently at Lake Center Middle School. All of that is in my community, in Santa Fe Springs, where my home is, where I decided to build my home and to be my home, because I lived in Riverside for a long time, and Riverside embraced me, but I chose to come back. I chose to be here, because this is my roots. This is my foundation. This is where my brothers and sisters live. This is where my parents raised us. And so I feel like I owe my community the best of who I can be to serve them in terms of education capacity. I want to see our scholars reach their highest potential, whether it's through education or through other options, but I want to make sure that they have those options. I want to make sure that they have those opportunities so that they can make those choices for their better futures. I don't want us to be, successful at panzazo, out of circumstance, because to some degree that was my experience coming from East LA originally and then into Whittier Union. It wasn't until I was in Whittier Union that I really got all the academic support that I felt that I really needed. And so I attribute my success to this wonderful district. I'm very blessed to be able to serve again on this dyad. And again, I will continue serving from a place of cariño for my community, and a place of a lot of respect for our parents, and a place of hope for our students. And yes, I am getting emotional because serving on this school district is, I think, what my parents dreamt all along, coming as undocumented immigrants to this country and giving us, my brothers and sisters and I, hope and opportunities, and that's exactly what has happened. So in any case, in terms of this last month, there was a lot of activities, a lot of focus on trying to get reelected, and again, my true, place of gratitude to WSCA, to all the membership, to Matt, and so I had the privilege of attending several State of the Cities. One of them was for Santa Fe Springs, also for Norwalk and Whittier. And I have to tell you that at every single one of those activities, the contributions and the partnership of Whittier Union High School District were elevated. And I'm just very proud of the work that happens at our schools and with our students. Also, I had the opportunity to attend the trunk or treat at Los Nietos Middle School. It was a district-wide event. There was like they said something like 1,300 students that went through the candies. And it was very enjoyable, and several people said, oh, it's the first time that Whittier Union participates. It won't be the last. The students had a wonderful time. They're a feeder school. We want to make sure we continue that partnership. And then also, all wonderful positive things. I did get asked by two different constituents in terms of Mr. Mendez's election to the Central Basin Board, if that was going to be a conflict. I don't think it is, but because the question was posed to me, I do want to see if we could get, legal counsel to just confirm what my suspicions are, right? I said I would make sure that we got an answer on that, so I just wanted to bring that up. And but again, thank you so much for the opportunity to serve. And I'm just very grateful to all of the community, especially those that voted for both my colleagues to be again and continue this work. Thank you so much.
Mr. Casanova. Thank you, Mr. President. Just want to start by congratulating Trustee Lopez on your re-election, and Trustee Conchola on your election to the board to serve your own term out right after your appointment. And it's a wonderful thing to be validated by the voters and to see your name on the ballot and to tell your family and to have them call you, hey, I saw your name on the ballot, I voted for you. That's the best feeling in the world. And both of you recognize rightfully so that it takes a village. And so I look forward to continuing service with both of you.
Thank you.
And then in terms of other election results, as you look up and down the ballot, as we look up and down at the state level, the federal level, the county level, there are a lot of items that have a direct or indirect impact on our district. And I appreciate Dr. Oviedo's being proactive to take special consideration for parts of our student population and their families who are feeling vulnerable at this point, given the objectives of the Trump-elect administration and some of their comments about populations that are near and dear to this community and always have been. And so with that in mind, I was really grateful to hear the student well-being presentation earlier tonight at 5 o'clock and the scaffolding of support that we already have in place for our students, some of whom are part of multiple vulnerable communities, undocumented students and LGBTQ plus students and students who identify with groups that are marginalized, let's face it. And it can be a very fearful time for our students and our families. So I know as a board, we stand firm with our families and our students. And that's something I think we can all unite around. And so we want to be that firewall. If the Trump administration comes knocking, we will stand in support of our students and our families to make sure that we fulfill our mission. Third, I do want to inform the board and the community that I have attended now 4 of the 5 courses for the Masters of Government program. And my last course is this Saturday on advocacy and community relations. So I look forward to compiling all the research and the data that I found, and I'll bring that to the board at a future meeting. Very, very helpful. I also wanted to share that I started serving on a subcommittee with Board President Mendez that started the policy review process in the 9000s. I know several leaders have also been engaged in that process, so thank you for your work. And I look forward to discussion with the full board later tonight so that we're all on the same page. I also want to share with the board that I do have a new conflict with the December 13th special board meeting. Unfortunately, the Rio Hondo College board meeting has been rescheduled Friday the 13th. And it was moved because of EDCO, the same issue that we had. So I unfortunately will not be able to join us that night. And last but not least, as I was reviewing the board agenda, I looked at the seniority list for classified and certificated, and I noticed a name there that was familiar, and there's a milestone coming up, and I'm talking about Olga Cedillo. I'm not going to say how many years, but I was really impressed to see you started in 1985, so you can do the math. So you've got a milestone coming up. And I think it's important that we as a board recognize the contributions of Olga in her multiple hats, but especially in the hat she wears now. And let's face it, this year alone, we've given you a lot of demands. We've had a lot of board meetings, a lot of study sessions. It's a lot of heavy lifting that impacts both Dr. Oviedo and yourself and the entire superintendent's office and team and cabinet as well. But I just want to thank you for all of your work, and I hope that we can recognize you a little more formally next year when you hit your big milestone. So thank you for all you do, Olga. I conclude my comments.
Well, I want to congratulate Mr. Lopez to his re-election. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Ms. Conchola, congratulations. There's nothing like getting the affirmation from voters on where you're at. And I remember when you interviewed on the board, you had a 5-0 vote. And so that is the first indication that congratulations on getting the voters' affirmation to do that. I have a passion for education. It's a privilege to be here at Whittier Union, to work in education. I spent 21 years at Rio Hondo College Board, and coming to Whittier Union, it was a different universe. It was just a different way of doing things. I'm not used to engaging with parents. With students, I've always done that, but this is a very unique place. And my family history goes back over 100 years in this area. And so it's a privilege to be here. But I'm semi-retired. I have a program in a local school where I provide meditation and karate every morning to children in elementary schools. at 12 elementary schools with my staff simultaneously. So it's a privilege to work with children. But I have another side of me. So at Sacramento State, where I studied government, water policy was something just about everyone took, because water is important in politics and in California. So I took it upon myself, and working part-time to run for the water board. Water is so important to Southern California, living in an arid, basically desert. So I ran and I won, and I'm on the water board. And so I'm also, what kind of led to that is I'm a certified California naturalist and certified California climate steward. So I have these sides of policy that I'm so interested in. When I worked for Grace Napolitano, water and natural resources were her focus. So I got to get into policy doing that for her. So I ran, I won, and so now I'll be doing two things that fit perfectly in my schedule. Is I'll be able to guarantee that our water is quality and an ample supply here for this 16 cities that it currently represents. There is no conflict. Currently, there are several trustees that sit on community college and K-12 boards that sit on the water. It would be a conflict if I was on the city council and being on the water board. But education and water are almost two different universes. But it's such a privilege to be able to do both. And in this occasion, I'm able to walk and chew gum at the same time. So I'm going to be able to do that. It's a privilege to do both. I'm passionate about both. I'm passionate about education, and my 23 years of service kind of shows that. And so I'm looking forward to doing work here and focusing on what we need to do here. And then I'll put on my hat elsewhere for water. But so this past month, we went to the Santa Fe Springs City Council annual report, and the city has always had a good relationship with Whittier Union, and we're so privileged to be present in their city governance. I'm very proud of the relationship that we have with the city of Santa Fe Springs. And thank you, Mr. Campbell. We did the Red Ribbon Week. Thank you, Olga, for getting us those toys to throw at kids. It was a zoo. These kids fight for those toys. So we had to ration our toys to hand out, but Red Ribbon was a very nice event. So thank you for doing that. And I'll be at Santa Fe High School tomorrow to visit you to report. So just in April, we visited all the high schools, and we got some feedback from students on what they thought needs to be improved at Santa Fe, and they gave us a list. And they were so well organized. I don't think you at Santa Fe Springs are as surprised as that when I asked students, can we get some feedback? They broke up into groups, they did some work, and they came back and give us their feedback. It was so well organized. I was just in awe that these young people are able to break apart, brainstorm, and give us some stuff to work on. And we did work on some things, so you'll get that report tomorrow, Abigail. So I'm done. We'll go on to district events. Madam Superintendent.
So starting tomorrow through Friday, the principals and most of the cabinet are going to be going down to the AXA Leadership Summit. So we're looking forward to sharing best practices with other schools from across the state of California. Mrs. Bozigian has elected to stay back, and she'll support any items that may come up while we're down in San Diego. I'm looking forward to seeing most of you in Anaheim on December 5th and 6th. I do, as Trustee Castaneda-Calleros said, that there are some conflicts that are arising with our special meetings in December. So I will be looking to reach out to you. The board's self-evaluation, it is CSBA's recommendation that we have full participation of the board, and so we want to make sure, and that was the only date that the facilitator was available. We do still have two teams that are in the playoffs for football. Pioneer High School Titans are playing against Bolsa Grande, and they will be down at La Quinta High School. And Lucerna High School, I believe, is playing Rio Mesa High School in the Oxnard area. But they are playing at Thorstensen Stadium. And then, let's see what else. December 12th, we do have our District Choral Festival. December 14th is our Christmas parade. I do have a mariachi update for you. A survey went out district-wide to all of our students and their families to find interest, to see where the interest lies. And then we will have a fuller report for you in the board weekly update, because there is a draft curriculum course of study that's been written, and instruments have actually already been purchased and have arrived. So we're looking forward to proceeding with that. And that, I believe, Thanksgiving week, our schools will be closed the week of November 25th to celebrate the holiday. That concludes my report, and our student representative would love to have the opportunity on the next item, if you will.
Oh, of course. So we're now on consent calendar, right? So would you like to move the consent calendar?
I'd like to move for approval.
Oh, great. So
I'll second that.
moved, seconded by Mr. Lopez. Any discussion, removal, not discussion, removal or changes? Any pulls? No pulls? Secretary, call the roll.
Trustee Canchola?
Aye.
Trustee Castaneda Calleros?
Aye.
Trustee Lopez?
Aye.
Trustee Cetina?
Aye.
And Trustee Mendez?
Aye. Very good. Good job. Okay, so now we'll go on to 14 proposals and discussions. And so we have, page 1403. Review and discuss consideration of 2 adult school courses of study.
To share a little bit more about this item is Mrs. Bozicia.
Thank you, Dr. Oviedo. This evening we have 2 adult school courses being brought for your review. The first is Careers in Education, Paraprofessionals, and second is Artificial Intelligence, AI Essentials. Both are career path courses that prepare students for high demand fields. The AI Essentials course teaches responsible artificial intelligence use for workplace enhancement. The Paraprofessional Education course prepares students to support TK-12 classroom instruction. We request your approval to implement these adult school courses for the 24-25 school year and ask that they be placed on consent at the December 17th board meeting.
So will that AI course include how to take notes in class using AI? Is that the kind of stuff?
It's going to teach them how to use it responsibly
Okay.
in the workplace.
Very good. Mr. Lopez?
I do have a question. I know there was an AI conference, an annual conference, I think, in the Bay Area. I would like to see maybe the instructor or whoever, the director of the program to, fly out there and be part of the conference if it's appropriate. That's all.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Mr. Castaneda Calleros?
Thank you, Mr. President. Ms. Bozigian, I have a question.
Yes.
There is a reference in the AI Essentials document under the Anchor Standards section, 11.2, and there's a reference to career technical pathways with post-secondary institutions. So who would be tasked with researching those pathways?
Well, that would be me and Marty. So Miss Dr. Moriarty. So we will do that.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, next item, 1402, review of initial proposal from Whittier Adult Teachers Association to the Whittier Union High School District. Madam Superintendent?
Sure. And to comment on this is Assistant Superintendent Fitzgerald.
Yes, thank you very much. So tonight we have Fred Wada on their Sunshine article, so we'll be able to open negotiations. We sent out some dates, so we look forward to meeting with each of our associations in 10 weeks.
Oh, very good, thank you. Okay, now we'll move on to the new 1403, which is 1504, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so we consider approval to select 2 board members to form subcommittee to review board policies. Is there a motion to approve?
So,
Is that a proposal?
What is the motion?
Well, it's from new business, so it's an action item.
it is, so just if I may speak to the item before So there was confusion on our part of analyzing the minutes, and so our understanding was that trustee Hokanchola and trustee Mendez were going to participate with trustee Castaneda Gallegos being, jumping in if Ms. Canchola could not. But after listening to the audio recording of that, that was not accurate analysis in the minutes that were approved by the board back in October. The board minutes were approved for the September meeting. And so in order to rectify this, I think that also this item at that time was under proposals and discussions rather than an action item. So we would request that we formally choose 2 members to serve on a subcommittee and also have a plan for an alternative should one of those 2 members not be able to serve. So with that, I would open it up for
Mr.
your
Lopez?
discussion and selection.
Mr. President, only if we're gonna take action, shouldn't this item be at new business? Because
Yes.
again, are we repeating the same mistake we did last time?
That's correct. So we took something out of new business and action items and put it in proposals and discussions. Yeah, it was a little odd.
Sure, and I can explain my rationale if I may.
Sure.
Okay, so I thought it'd be helpful to have the board be clear on who's going to be involved moving forward. And I think that'd be helpful because if it's not going to be me, and it's okay if it's not, but if it's not going to be me, and I was part of the original mix, then when we get to items 14.03, 14.04, 14.05, 06, 07, that's the part where the board is going to be relying on you and I, Mr. Mendez, because we spent 3+ hours already together. And then I don't want to also forget the time that Ms. Controla spent. But I think we've had at least 2 meetings so far, and we actually have a 3rd scheduled, right? December 2nd. So it would be helpful for my participation if I could then, if I'm going to be continuing on the subcommittee, then I think it'll be a little more logical if we identify the subcommittee first before we start going through each of our board policies to get feedback from the board. Does that make sense?
Did that answer your question?
No, again, my question is, are we repeating the same mistake?
That's correct. So
that, how
trustee
can we
Castaneda
rectify
Gallegos,
this?
I think what we needed to do was move that to the top of new business. Oh, I see, but you're getting a recommendation for 1401. So, well, okay, it's still an item of new business. So it's still an item of new business in that category.
It's
So
just out of order.
we just have to ignore that the fact that it's been put up to 1403. It is an action item. So it's an action item in proposals and discussion. That's just the weirdness of how it occurred. And yeah.
So an analogy, if I might, an analogy could be when we moved the action item of the Puente Hills Authority out of where it was placed in new business and to the front of the meeting,
Yeah.
so that we could accommodate the folks from the community that came and attended.
You're
It would
right.
be similar, so we're not renumbering
Yeah.
it, we're just reordering it
Sure.
to a place that makes
Yeah.
more sense to then the other items
Yeah,
for
so-
which we need.
So we are considering an item, pull out a new business and put on proposal discussion, but that doesn't change the nature of the motion. So it's an action item. So it's an action item, yeah. So this came about, I'll give you a little context about facts. And I don't want to get too much into it, but it is a part of our governance that we need to be aware of. So after the board meeting, we had appointed 2 members, and it was like the will of the board. And so on October 29th, I showed up early, and then Ms. Conchola showed up, and then Russell stepped in. And so that's where I kind of told both, oh, look, we can't all be here. three of us can't be here, one of us has to leave. And that's when it was explained to me that Russell was gonna rotate with Ms. Conchola, so she could go to work and he could step in. So that's what occurred. So then later, I was a little confused about that rotation idea. So I looked at the minutes, and the minutes said that the 3 board members were appointed. And I thought that was a little odd because I don't remember that happening, that occurring. So we had scheduled a meeting in the interim, and I had sent an email saying that I need to listen to the audio because I recall that we didn't do 3. And the superintendent and Russell had indicated to me that that's what it says in the minutes. So I did attend a meeting, and I called the superintendent to let her know that I still have not read that or listened to the audio, and I'm not sure whether we're doing something that fits our protocol. And so I looked at the minutes, and I have to believe what's in the minutes. So I called the superintendent, I called Russell, put me in the conference. I apologized because I was confused. I read the minutes, it said that 3 board members were appointed. I apologized, and I continued to meet with us. However, later, I did get a hold of the audio, and it did show that it was clear that only 2 members were appointed, myself and Ms. Conchola, and Mr. Castaneda-Caleros gave up his seat, that he first was the one to ask to be appointed. And so they changed. Ms. Conchola got his position, and Mr. Castaneda-Caleros bowed out. And so that was where the confusion was, is that the audio did not fit what was on the minutes. And that was a little odd because it was pretty clear what happened that meeting. So, so we're back here. We're gonna appoint, I've already been appointed. So it's gonna be worked out between the 2 of you on who's gonna be appointed, correct? And so, and then we could move on. So I don't know what your intention is, to give up the seat, or?
Yeah, so let me just back up for a second. So I had to leave that meeting at 10 a.m. Because of my responsibilities with my office that were unexpected, and I had to do a big presentation because my supervisor was out, and so anyways, so it was an unexpected reason. But given that that trustee Castaneda-Caleros has gone through the majority of the process, it makes more sense that he would continue to work, from my perspective, because he's been in communication with you in terms of really looking into all those policies that I didn't get a chance to really look at. And so it would benefit all of us because of the time that has already been invested for him to continue to work with you.
Yeah, I don't disagree. It's just that the minutes were wrong, the audio was correct. That's what that's what the question was. It wasn't a question that you 2 decided to rotate. Is that 2 members were appointed, so now we have to correct. We have to, next meeting, bring the minutes back, correct the minutes, and start there. Yeah, do you understand now what happened?
So tonight, moving forward, do we need a new motion?
Yes, it's on the agenda.
Sure.
Is we could appoint 2 members, but I'm not gonna pursue this further here, is that the minutes were grossly misinterpreted. And so what I've asked to do outside of the board is I've asked the DA to look at the minutes. I've sent them a communication, and I asked them to decide this, because I don't want to have it here. I'll let the DA decide that, whether or not the minutes were changed or whatever. All I know is that outside of that inquiry is that we're going to correct the minutes next month to reflect what the actual transcript says, and move on from here. In the meantime, just to let you know that I've asked the DA to look at how the minutes were changed to reflect what's not on the audio. Because it's just a governance issue. I'm not gonna make a fuss out of it here. So we're at,
I think nobody's
at
questioning
15
the next step, so.
we're at 15:04. So, essentially, if I may change the motion, is that to replace a member is what we're looking at, to relieve one and replace another, correct?
And I would like to amend your amendment, because I think Dr. Vieira had a really good suggestion about identifying an alternate in case life happens to either one of us. And I think we need to dig deep into our pool.
Actually, that creates an issue. That creates a Brown Act issue. So we cannot have 3 board members that are privy to the same information that's going to be sent to the Board of Trustees. So it has to be 2. If that occurs again, then we have to bring it up back here and officially make the change, because 3 board members cannot be privy to the same policy changes.
Okay, so if I understand correctly then, I do intend to continue serving, and I
Well,
like-
we could schedule it. That's not going to be an issue. If you have a conflict, we can work that out.
Yeah, so just to finish my thought though, so if a conflict were to come up with either one of us, then we would, the alternative would be just not to do that day.
Yeah,
Instead of
right.
digging into the pool and identifying.
Well, and it's just the 2 of us and the superintendent, so.
Okay.
I don't see, my schedule is, I teach from 7 AM to 8:30. I don't think that's ever gonna be a conflict. So we'll have the flexibility to your schedule, and we'll just make it work. I don't think it'll ever be the case where someone else would have to step in.
So we need a motion then?
Yes,
At
a
this
motion to replace Ms. Conchola with Mr. Castaneda Galeros. That's right?
That's fine with me.
Okay.
You just need a second.
So I'll make that motion to replace Ms. Conchola with Mr. Castaneda Galeros on the Policy Review Committee. Is there a second?
Second.
Second. Questions, remarks,
No, just.
insults?
No, just thank you for clarifying it. I think I did raise the issue with Dr. Oviedo about that possibility, I'm not saying it happened, possibility of violating the Brown Act. If we have, yes, we have 2, yet we have an alternate, sharing the same information. And just want to protect the district. Thank you.
Appreciate that. Okay, Secretary, call the roll.
Trustee Canchola.
Aye.
Trustee Castaneda Collados.
Aye.
Trustee Lopez.
Aye.
Trustee Mendez.
Aye. So now we'll go back to consider how to refer governing board members of the Board of Trustees. So that's 1404, correct?
14.3.
1403 was with the motion we just made.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, thank you. And so this is the discussion. And so this was on the question on our policy review.
Sure, so if I may, share, there are 33 policies that fall under the purview of board bylaws. There's hundreds and hundreds of policies that the rest of staff are reviewing and comparing to what currently exists, looking at certain policies that we have that CSBA doesn't have, and vice versa, any updates due to changes in ed code, etc. So this work is going to take months to do. We do not anticipate bringing for first read any board policies except maybe some, maybe at least one, because of a federal program monitoring review that would fall under Ms. Bozigian's Ed Services purview. But the rest of these policies would not be coming to the board for first read until at least March, optimistically. And it could be later, depending on how difficult this work is. So I wanted to kind of share that. But the work that has been done by the subcommittee of the 2 board members, that work is about 2/3. They've had an opportunity to look through 2/3 of policies, and they have about 11 more to look through. But they wanted to have some discussion so that they have direction moving forward in completion of their work. And so that's why they're bringing, these are not first reads, there's just little bits of them that they wanted some input from you before they work again on December 2nd. So I would set that as the context for what they will share.
So we'll get to the first review, 1404, correct? Review and discuss the revisions to the board policy 9220, Board of Trustees election. And that was on the question to determine to use the district or Board of Trustees or candidate will pay for the electronic cost for candidate statement. There is an electronic candidate statement, so a printed one costs money.
Sure.
And we've never elected to pay for that.
And Ms. Olga has just recognized, we have not responded to the old 1403. How does the board want to be referenced in all of these documents? As governing board, which is what the sample says, or as the Board of Trustees, which is what currently.
So you're in
is.
1403, and isn't that something we just discussed?
Well, we skipped one. Remember,
No,
we still
we
need
skipped
to,
one.
how do we refer to governing board, Board of Trustees?
Yeah, I just read that. Yeah, that's,
Okay, thank you.
yeah.
But
So it doesn't look like a question. The question is in here.
I think it's just discussion,
Right.
Mr. President.
Yeah.
So if I may, Mr. President?
Yeah, consider how to refer.
So from our subcommittee, we noticed all throughout the board policies, there's a repeated reference to our body, and so Board President Mendez was, how do we refer to ourselves? Hey, we should ask our colleagues, do you prefer governing board member, do you prefer Board of Trustees? Because I know it sounds like a little bit like minutia, but
Right.
if we decide now, then we can make sure to change all the documents consistently. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So how do you feel? Would you rather us be considered governing board or Board of Trustees?
Mr. President, I'm just trying to understand what, I thought we gave you guys a role here.
Yeah, I'll speak to that. I'm not gonna take that responsibility.
I know, I understand that, but again, I think we gave you guys a role to review and give us, recommendations. We can go through this every exercise at every meeting here, because, yes, it's super important, I get it, but are we, I thought we gave you this latitude to review and come back with a recommendation.
Yeah, that's one, those are 3 words that are part of 5,000 words that we're asking you to rule on, to give us a direction.
Oh, okay, I'm just want to make this clear, because I thought we gave you guys
Okay, well, we
the
can bring it
authority
back
to do that.
with those questions on there. You wanna
Yeah.
wait till then?
Yeah,
Okay.
for me anyway, because I want,
Okay.
give you authority to review all of them and
Thank
discuss them and do all these things. That's my point.
Thank you.
Why are we doing the work that you guys were, given?
Because we're concerned.
I'm just
We
saying,
don't wanna make that big of a
if
decision.
we're gonna, we can discuss
Okay.
it, Mr. President.
All
but-
right. Okay. If that's a direction of the board,
Yeah.
then we'll just
That's all.
decide that when those policies come up,
Thank you.
okay?
Their recommendations until the board sends them.
Yeah,
Yeah, okay,
exactly.
okay. Well, that kind of kills the other ones too. Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So does that take us to 15.01 then?
9100?
I think 14,
Okay, yeah.
07, we need to,
So the only, 07 is the only one left.
yeah.
So, I shared this with Mr. Castaneda Caleros, is thinking about the process of these policies, right? So on here you have a flow chart that for us visual people, and this is just discussion of how the flow occurs. What's new that's being proposed is a consultation policy review. And what this is that when the cabinet refers a policy to be amended or reviewed to a section, it could be personnel, which is Ms. Ann Fitzgerald, it could be student services with Ms. Bozigian, or it could be facilities with Mr. Jamero. They would work on their set of they're on their set of policies. If it's something that affects students, like the 5,000 series, after they review it, after the section policy review, they will refer it for consultation. So they will sit with students and talk about the changes because it affects them. If it was something directly affecting curriculum, then they would sit with this certificate and discuss that. and the same thing for classified, and so the various groups. And this is something that just assures that there's inclusion in our policy review section. So it doesn't say that consultant policy review has the power to change language, but we ask that you consult these groups when the policies come up to the areas that they're affected. Does that make sense? Yeah. So it kind of did that flow chart as best I can, and that describes the process. And the policy that we're looking at, I'm looking at proposing, is what this next sheet is, the draft. It just defines what that flow chart is saying. The original committee being the candidate policy review section of the assistant superintendents, and then they refer to a section. It could be student services, that would be referred to Ms. Bozigian's department, and then if it's something that affects a group, then they would consult that group. Yeah, so that's where it's a little more inclusive. Yeah.
Mr. President, I see that the author is you, the edits and the formatting with Dr. Oviedo, and I just do have a question for Dr. Oviedo. Maybe did you read? I'm sure you read this. Does it flow well? And considering you have a good view of policy review and consultation process.
Sure. So I was my effort here was to capture President Mendez's flow in a narrative form, and so that was my only purpose in drafting it to look like this, is to identify the different committees that Mr. Mendez was looking to establish, and what their committee, who would be comprised in those committees, and the number of people that would be on those committees. So from that perspective, I hope that I captured the alignment of your graphic to the narrative.
And our role today is just to talk about it.
Yeah.
Are we gonna bring it back for a formal vote?
If you're okay with that.
Okay.
Yeah.
For me, no.
I think the good thing about this is that our district will consult groups as it affects them. So if it's regarding curriculum, certificated will have the opportunity to sit down with the cabinet policy or the section reviews committee and discuss those changes as it affects them. And that applies to students, and that applies to classified. So that's the new thing, is we're putting it sort of in writing, that's some assurance from us, is that the various affected groups will have the opportunity to be consulted on policy changes. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes, Mr. Castellano.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. As another member of the subcommittee, I do want to recognize we did have a good opening discussion about what this would look like. And I think this captures a lot of what you had in mind. And in terms of putting a critical lens on what is proposed, I do have a couple of questions, and I did raise them with you in the subcommittee, and I want to raise them again tonight.
Sure.
And so I want to make sure that when we discuss that we're soliciting feedback and that we're not guaranteeing that what is going to be proposed is going to automatically become policy that's binding. I just don't want to disincentivize participation. And we did talk about that, so that's my first concern. And I'm saying this so that my colleagues can think about this too, our colleagues. My second question is if we need guardrails to be put in place to ensure that the board policies and board bylaws that result from this process do not become subject to the negotiations process, because I don't want to negotiate that away. That's authority that we have as a board.
Sure.
And then third, and then these questions don't mean that I'm not in favor of this concept. They're just considerations, not oppositional. And third, what limits do we need to put in place in terms of time, so that employees they're not away infinitely from their everyday duties. So I don't know if we need to like have a calendar attached to this. And, and I'm getting ahead of myself. This is just a first draft, but eventually it'd be helpful to put like a schedule, like if this is going to happen in maybe in the middle of the fall semester or something along those lines, like I did this year. And then my last comment is, I wonder if it would be helpful to think of an alternative, and this could be me coming at this from a different angle, but I like an alternative proposal to be seen as an intermediate step before we graduate to this. And what if we set aside a day or 2 days or 3 days in the instructional calendar, sometimes, and I said during the middle of the fall semester, where we invite representatives of all constituency groups to come together at the same time, or maybe not at the same time, but maybe like you said, at a defined time, like, okay, from 9 to 10, we're going to talk about curriculum. So then we'd have our WSA partners involved, right? That's just an example. So that during this period, we can invite folks to the sections that's most relevant to their work. And I think that gets up to what you were saying. So just wanted to offer those because I want to make sure that our approach is focused and that the scope of work is narrow and it minimizes the chance that we cede our authority as a board.
Absolutely, yeah, this is organic, and we hope to improve a process. What I like about this is that this demonstrates that we're trying to be transparent, as we want everybody to understand what a process looks like. And we could work on it along the way. I would, in the definition of a consultation policy review committee, is that would be like a 3-member group that would be consulted. And of course, that would have to deal with schedules and outside of teaching hours, I would suggest, right? So this could be, the cabinet could look at this and tell us what is workable, what's not, what
Sure,
measures
we'd
we
be happy
could put.
to analyze it from that perspective, and then come back with our recommendations and thoughts on whether or not it's workable.
Yeah, and you have the committee to refer to discuss it with too. And so we'll just consider this to be organic and eventually move towards something.
Mr.
Yes.
President, I do like the comments from Trustee Castellanos about making sure that we cover the legal aspect.
Sure, of course.
Right, and we've got legal counsel here, and I would like for them to look at this as well.
Sure.
And overall, though, it speaks to the shared governance, which is great. Thank you.
Yeah, I could understand if it's something affecting a contract, then that would be an exception, that the consultation would occur via the collective bargaining process.
Right.
But as it relates to students, we could give them the opportunity to be consulted, because there's a structure for that already. Is
Right.
they have the student advisory committee, and that any changes would be talked to them about it. They could go to their student bodies, get input, a month or two later, come back with their input and work that out with you, right? So, okay, so that's good. It's been aired, and we'll move on to the next new business. Consider expulsion of Whittier Union High School District student. Ms. Bozigian, you want to?
I'll do it.
Okay.
I move that pursuant to the requirements of Education Code Section 48918F, we accept the findings and recommendations of the Administrative Hearing Panel regarding the expulsion of Whittier High School number 206623.
And so would the motion be to not expel, correct?
It is an expulsion, but a suspended enforcement.
Okay, so we can
So-
move
so
that
moved.
paper. Okay, moved by Mr. Lopez,
No, it's moved by Ms.
seconded by Ms. Conchola.
There's confusion, let's
No,
just clarify.
So
Okay, there's-
trustee Canchola moved it.
Read the motion. Yes.
She
I'll
made the
second that.
motion.
Okay, there we go. Okay, secretary, call the roll.
Trustee Canchola.
Aye.
Trustee Castaneda Calleros.
Aye.
Trustee Lopez.
Aye.
Trustee Mendez.
Aye. Very good. Good luck to you, young friend. Okay. We'll now go on to consider approval of resolution number 242511, recognizing November as Native American History Month. And I'll read part of the whereas, and that's why I'm wearing my outfit today. Is whereas the Whittier Union High School District is committed to promoting awareness and understanding and respect for Native American heritage among our students, staff, and community. Whereas the Whittier Union High School District acknowledges that our schools are located on the ancestral lands of Gabrielino Tongva. Move on to the therefore be it resolved that the Whittier Union High School District Board of Trustees encourages all schools within the district to commemorate November as Native American Heritage Month with appropriate educational programs, activities, and ceremonies that acknowledge and celebrate the contributions of Native Americans to our nation and local community, including the use of Whittier Union High School District's land acknowledgement statement. And I'll move on to the last, number 5, calls upon all members of our education community to join in observing Native American History Month, passed and adopted. Okay, is there a motion to approve? I'll move it.
Second.
Second by Mr. Lopez.
And I do have a question.
Yes.
I see the authors, Alicia Gubari.
Of course, that's recognized.
We have one that's in the room, actually.
Right, and Rosa Zavala Ramirez, and please, if we can
Yes,
recognize
thank them for that, yes.
Thank you,
Thank
Mrs.
you.
Gordy.
I just want to thank you for that. And also, is there a powwow in this, in the near future?
Madam
Yes,
Superintendent?
a Native American celebration, cultural celebration. We're premiering that this next week,
Okay.
November 20th. And we are working with Mr. Chavez on a date for next year for a Whittier Union powwow.
Thank you.
Great, any other further questions? Secretary, call the roll.
Trustee Canchola. Aye. Trustee Casanera Calleros.
Aye.
Trustee Lopez.
Aye.
Trustee Mendez.
Aye,
Good work.
very good.
Good work.
Okay, consider approval of delivery modes of Measure AA facilities projects.
Yes, I'd like to turn it over to Mr. Tamero to share our recommendations.
Thank you, Dr. Oviedo. At last month's board meeting, we had a discussion, a recommendation to share our proposed delivery models for Measure AA projects. So for a presentation on those procurement models, as well as a recommendation for our projects through 2025, we have Steve Rodriguez, our Director of Business Operations. Mr. Rodriguez, welcome back.
Good evening, Board of Trustees.
Good evening.
Thank you for allowing me to present on our facilities department's procurement and project delivery methods. I'll outline the key models we utilize that are grounded in our core values that are safety and compliance, equity, and value. In terms of compliance, each method that we'll discuss this evening is tested. It's permissible under Ed Code and Public Contract Code. Each of them are reviewed on an annual basis, and to date, we have had 0 findings in our annual Measure AA audit. There's no right or wrong model, but there are models that best lend themselves to a project based on your scope, your timeline, your staffing, and ultimately your cost. From a 20,000-foot level, let me address our preferred procurement strategies. Starting on the left side, we actively leverage cooperative purchasing agreements. Typically, that's for goods and materials, for things, for stuff. There's a dashed red line that represents the movement from materials and goods towards projects. Now, sometimes there's an overlap, so there's going to be very absolutes in anything that we talk about. There's some fluidity between each of those groups. As the project scope increases, there are more and more opportunities for alternative delivery models based on the project's needs. Each of the models are competitively bid from that red line over. And really, each one is different based on where you want your risk to lie. And we'll talk about each of those as we get a little further into them. But we'll start with cooperative purchasing. The key aspects, they're efficient, and we're leveraging purchasing power. So these are pre-negotiated agreements. The terms that you will hear us use are CMAS, California Multiple Allowable Schedule. We have piggyback terms, where we use a contract from a previous district that they had negotiated. With their permission, we'll go ahead and jump onto that agreement. We'll bring that to board. We use Omnia. I think in our contracts today, we had a agreement through Omnia Services to procure dishwashers. And what it does is it gives us kind of the power of joining other people who are buying these, so we're getting better value, better price for these. The fit, these are for large M&O projects, and what is a large M&O project is also a small facilities project. So we're talking about $15,000 up to about $220,000. We pulled off successful projects. The field turf from the Santa Fe Athletic Field will be a CMAS project. The reason we CMAS that is we buy it directly from the vendor. We don't use the contractor to buy that, because if the contractor buys it for us, they're going to upcharge us. So we can go directly because that's a set price on that material. We are going to refinish the tennis courts over at Cal High. In the past, we've refinished the tennis courts at Santa Fe High School under a CMAS agreement. The Whittier locker room project, that's the photo on the bottom right, that was a piggyback agreement. Furniture we do all day long under piggybacks, and the Pioneer shade structure was a piggyback project as well. Moving on to CUPCA, this is really our large maintenance projects to our small facilities project. And the CUPCA stands for the California Uniform Construction Cost and Accounting Act. This is voluntary for public agencies. We opt into this program. And what this does is for your smaller construction project, it really streamlines the process. Qualified contractors may apply to be on our vendor list. And it's developed, the criteria is developed by the state of California on what pre-qualifies a contractor. And instead of having to take these contracts and publicly put them in newspapers for 2 5-week runs in the newspaper, we can send out an email list. Yes, sir?
How often do we provide the opportunity for vendors to get on that list?
That's a great question. This list is fluid. So the only ask we have of our vendors is they have to reapply every year. But it's open, they can jump on at any time throughout the calendar year. Every November, we start sending out reminders to get them approved for the next year. Benefits, it's a simple project. We can email out to all of our pre-approved vendors, and we can have a project advertised and under contract within about 14 days. We will do our gymnasium floors when we actually go down, sand, and we rebrand them. That's the Cal High project there on the bottom right. When we do our baseball infields, this is a nice opportunity to use the CUPCA work, asphalt, mid-size painting, and mid-size roofing. Why I say mid-size, because if you go over $220,000, that's where CUPCA that ends. And what we do is right when it gets about $180,000 in our estimate, we tend to move away from it because we don't want to get too close to that $220,000 threshold. When we move from smaller projects to larger projects, the consideration we have to keep in mind is there's 4 components to every major project. You have the owner, which is the district. We have the contractor, who sometimes we will refer to as the builder. But sometimes we get in the mindset that the contractor is actually the shovel in the ground. But for the purposes of our conversation today, think of the contractor as the contract holder. We have an architect or an engineer who designs the plans, and then we have the subcontractor. And the subcontractor is typically the person with the shovel in the ground. The contractor is holding the contract between them and the sub.
When do we get the shovel? When do we do some work? We're just joking.
Okay.
Looking for a job? Is that what you're saying?
No, it's inaugural, grand opening.
In our design bid model, this is our bread and butter. Most of our projects are design, bid, and build. This is also referred to as hard bid, and this is for the simplest projects. This is when you want the absolute most competitive pricing. On straightforward projects, this works. If you're doing large roofing, if you're doing painting, if you're doing large asphalt work, simple modernization, yes.
So was it, I understand competitive bid, is that the same thing here?
Yes, so each of them are competitive. This is low bid, so competitive could be different based on what's your rubric? And what are you awarding value for? Is it the low price? And that's what this is. We also have competitive building when we take in other considerations like your past work history, your design portfolio, your means and methods, and we'll talk a little bit about that in the lease back. But for this purpose, hard bid means low bid. Some disadvantages for this is the builder or the contractor doesn't see the plans until they're done and they're DSA approved. So if they have any questions, if they have any recommendations, if there's any wonderings, they will ask them and they will be change orders ultimately. This could lead to a more contentious relationship between the contractor and the architect if the contractor doesn't understand the intent of the architect or if the contractor is fishing for change orders. So this tends to be a very, it could be a little more combative between contractor and architect and contractor and district. We've had successful projects with this one. The tennis courts at Whittier High School is going really well under this model. The science classrooms here at SEC, we've had some push and pull, and that project has fought us along the way, but that's a low bid. All of our fencing projects have come out really, really nice, and those have been low bid. And our large roofing projects, we've had a lot of success with this.
I'll just add, just to articulate a little bit about the bubbles here, the models here. The general contractor doesn't get the project until after the designs are complete and approved by DSA. So the builder is not involved at all with the pre-construction or design phase in this piece. So when Mr. Rodriguez is talking about for straightforward projects, this works really well. For more complex projects, sometimes there's a benefit to involving the builder or the contractor along with the architect, along with the district, to have pre-construction conversations and potentially save money through a process what we call value engineering, where you identify what looks good on paper to an architect may not look clear to a builder, and say, how do we resolve these challenges? We see this differently. Can we find a different way to do it? Can we find a different sequence to do it that will save time, which is money? Can we use different materials that are called out in the design that will have the same aesthetic, the same performance, but a lower cost? So, turn it back over to Mr. Rodriguez. Sorry for jumping in. It's just, I like the bubbles here. I told Mr. Rodriguez in an earlier phase of this we didn't have the bubbles, so bubbles make sense to me.
Yeah. Hopefully the bubbles make sense in lease back. And in lease back is what Mr. Jamero was getting to, is the architect shares the plans with the contractor prior to DSA approval. So the contractor can look through them, they can plug them into their own building software, and they can model, they can look for clashes to see where maybe your sewer tie-ins, your electrical tie-ins, maybe those things are clashing and they're gonna be a problem in the field. And what could be a simple adjustment and software adjustments could be a 15-minute change. If you do that after they're going to DSA, that could be a month or 2 months of waiting for approval at DSA. So this allows for a lot of those clashes to get cleaned up before those plans are ever final. This is a competitive process, but it's competitive based on the RFQ. So they'll submit, contractors will submit a written proposal based on the project that we put out. And we will rate each of those written responses, and then we'll pull in the project or the builders to interview them. And we'll interview them, we'll listen to their projects, we'll listen to their work history, their methodology, the fit, to see if they are a large company, a small company, does their experience match the needs of this project? And then we'll score them. There's a pricing component to that. They all get a fixed a worksheet where they plug in their fixed costs. So there's still a pricing element, but it's not, you can not be the low price and still get the project if you score out higher in the other areas. This is where we've done our stadiums. Yes,
my impression, where I came from before for 21 years, is this was always the least option that we took. And so I'm trying to understand, and maybe, I'm trying to understand this, why they thought that. why did they think it was a riskier, or I don't know if it's risky, or whether they chose the other competitive over lease?
Well, I'll share some perspectives, and Mr. Rodriguez, I'm sure will too. We're not undermining the traditional competitive bid, low bid process, and we think there are good applications for that. If you're gonna lay sod, right, for a half an acre worth of sod, that's not gonna need a lot of pre-construction discussion with an architect on sod. It's a pretty, or some of these other projects that are pretty straightforward. And you'd say, well, why do we have, because if you have these collaborative processes ahead of time, it's gonna take time. Time is money, right? The collaborative process is not free, right? And that'll be built into the lease-leaseback contract is time for pre-construction services, that collaborative time with the owner as well as the architect engineer. So there are some costs associated with that. When we feel that there's a benefit to that, to larger scope project, and we're thinking Performing Arts Center, which is a lease-leaseback delivery model. The complexity of that project is big. The budget is big. The square footage is big. Lots of different aspects to that, from acoustics to the sound and lighting to just erecting a building of that size. It's complex, and it's something that we feel like a lease-leaseback delivery model is going to allow all the players at the table early to resolve any challenges that they see ahead of time, and hopefully avoid major hiccups or hurdles along the way, save time and money by bringing, and here's another benefit we saw lease-leaseback, by bringing on the contractors early, they can get ahead on long lead items. Certain items take a long time to order, materials cost. They can order them earlier and have those materials on site at the time they need them for the construction schedule.
I do have a question. Mr. President, who goes first? We have three people.
Superintendent?
I just want, when Mr. Rodriguez shares again about the Fresno case and why many people are worried about lease-leaseback because of that, but that's not the same as what we're doing. But that might help to answer Mr. Mendez's question.
Okay, Mr. Lopez and then Ms. Castaneda.
I'll defer to Mr.
All right, Mr.
Castaneda.
Castaneda, you're on.
Oh, thank you, and I think this relates to your earlier question, Mr. Mendez. I don't normally talk about my day job, but I think it's super relevant here. And getting to the heart of your question, well, at Rio Hondo, why was this not frowned upon? I mean, why was this frowned upon and not utilized more? And here it kind of, it's a different context, right? There's one example where I think lease-leaseback would have helped prevent a lot of headache and heartache at the college. And it's the Campus Inn project.
Yeah.
Because there were so many things that could have come out in the collaborative process in terms of when to link the Campus Inn with the Ray Theater and when not to link those. And we're still paying the price now, years later. So just one example. When sometimes, even though it's costly and it takes time, it makes sense to collaborate when you have projects of this magnitude. That's my point.
Okay, Mr. Lopez?
No.
Okay.
Thank you for asking.
We're good, that was a good explanation, thank you.
Mr. Rodriguez, want to talk a little bit about the prior litigation, the Fresno case?
I will. So in the early days of lease-leaseback, for the historians, I guess I'll take a quick bird walk for a second. Lease-leaseback actually dates back to the late 50s. So 1957, this was a response to the baby boom. And schools didn't have funding to build, to keep up with the growing need for students in their spaces. So they would literally lease to contractors, developers, their land. It would get built and they would pay that back over the life of the lease. This came back in the late 90s when we had more state funding for building. And it was a little bit of the Wild West in terms of how this was being executed. So there was less competitive components of the award process. You had the ability to partner with a lease-leaseback partner for the duration of your bond. It wasn't necessarily project by project. There wasn't a true lease agreement as part of that. All that has been worked out in the courts over the last 20 years. As recent as about a year and a half ago, we've seen kind of the last case on that close. So I think early on, late 90s through the early 2000s, the Fresno case was the landmark case, and it went back to court 3 or 4 different times.
So potentially that may have left some concerns in people's minds about pursuing lease back because it was in litigation often years ago.
Okay. Mr. Lopez.
Now, because of that case, did we see new legislation change certain things with this model?
Legislation has gotten tighter. It's competitively bid now. There's a true lease component. The pre-construction services, in the past, you'd be able to give the pre-construction services and then you could bid on the project. And now the pre-construction services are part of the construction services agreement. So the competitive part is done up front, and then the pre-construction is done after there is a agreement in place.
Right. As I understand the Fresno case, that was the primary piece of it, was what entities were doing was awarding a pre-construction contract under some auspice to an individual company, and then turn around and award a bid for the builder. Likely, the pre-construction contract holder received that bid, and it was not seen to be competitive. It wasn't seen to be a fair opportunity for all. So I think now with kind of that restructuring of how that looks, and I think now that opportunity is no longer in existence because pre-construction services happen after the award and selection of the builder through a competitive process.
You know, if I could lend some experience, and I've learned the difference between a not so good contract that exposes us to liability and a good contract that limits our liability. And so I've learned that mistake of not having a strong contract. So the question is, are our contracts good or excellent that would limit our liability?
You or me?
You, Mr. Gennaro.
Okay, I'll take
It's yours.
I'll take it. Yes, our experience with lease back, again, going back to the stadium builds. For a long time, we had nothing against Olmo here, but we worked with a prior construction firm, BBK, who was very specialized in construction law and worked really closely to ensure that our contract evolved, our contracts for lease back specifically evolved to ensure that when there was legislation years ago or where there was litigation years ago, that the contract was tightened every step of the way to ensure that you learn from other people's challenges. We don't need the challenge to learn from them. And so the attorneys at BBK helped develop the template for lease-back contracts, and that contract has gotten tighter and tighter. And now I think is seen as kind of the standard. We've shared our lease-back contract with Olmo, with Colin, who you've met before, and he's looking at it too. And so we have legal eyes on the contract at all times because it is big dollar amounts, and potential litigation could raise as high liabilities for us.
Thank you. Mr. Lopez.
In terms of this model and subcontracting, how many subcontracting can we have in this kind of model, and without, without encroaching into, say, workers' rights and such?
That's a great question, and this is, I think, where the PLA actually comes in to help us, because they make sure that every one of those subcontractors or subcontractors, they're all subject to the PLA.
Okay, thank you.
And it's also why this project is actually really nice, depending on the district.
Right.
On your district staffing, this is the one that is the friendliest to those who run lean. We don't have in-house construction managers. And a contract, let's say the Performing Arts Center, you could easily have 40 or 50 subcontracts on that.
Wow.
And if the district was to run that as a CM multi-prime delivery model, which is out there, we would be the contract holder with 50 different entities. So that's why I said when we have contractor / builder, they're the contract holders.
Thank you.
Just to add to that a little bit, we talked about the different models fit the project, but different project. It also fits the size of the district. You know, if you are a LA Unified, You can have a staff of architects that are on your payroll. You can have construction management department with whole teams of individuals. We don't have that with our size. So being able to scale up when we have funding and resources from a bond to build lots of projects, we are able to do that through contracting out. Mr. Rodriguez will share a model in a little bit that can show if you wanted to do it all yourself, right? So if you're building your own home and you're going to install the kitchen, you're going to put in the countertops and the toilets and the showers and do the drywall and do the roof. That's one way to do it. And you can do that if that's what you want to do. But really looking at a model that fits our district, construction management multi-prime is a model that exists, and some larger entities sometimes do this as a delivery model. We haven't done it. I'll let you share a little more.
This is something you will see in Long Beach Unified, LA Unified, where they have the in-house staff to go out and operationalize this, and it works. There are districts that swear by this. There are firms that run projects specifically like this, and to me, it has to match the needs. It has to match the fit, and each project is going to want to go a different way, and it's more art than science. That's why I don't have any absolute numbers, because it's something that we discuss internally based on practice, based on market conditions, and based on what the project is kind of speaking to us based on the complexity of it.
So to some degree, it saves us money because we don't have the staffing.
It
right?
does. It does. And then we would run into an issue at the end of the bond of the folks who you add on staff. What do you do with them when your bond runs out?
Right.
And then that could be a bad deal as well.
Right. Again, bubbles wise, you can see here the owner is responsible for a lot. So the owner, the district, would be contracting directly with the trades, with the subcontractors. So ultimately, the owner is responsible. So again, like if you are doing your own house, you'd hire a contractor, right? And they would bring in the tile guy, they would bring in the drywall guy, the paint guys, as opposed to myself trying to find a drywall guy, a tile guy, a roofing guy, and do it all and try to organize it ourselves. Again, in a bigger organization, that's possible. For us, this is not really fit to the size of our district.
And I can imagine if there was something that didn't work well, we know who would blame on this, and so that has to
be us.
A tight ship in order to do that.
And it's the risk. You're the one who's holding the contract, so the district will be left holding the bag. Right now, if we have a lease-back project and the subcontractor, it goes sideways with them, that's between the contract holder and the builder. We are left out of that. That's for them to settle.
So what is the risk? Because you just mentioned that the owner has to transfer it all over to the architect and contractor, correct? We're like lending them our property.
Yes.
And so they're responsible for all that. So that's always been a big step for government, correct? Is to be able to release that.
After all of the final plans are done, after all the pre-construction is done, and even though, yes, they are now responsible for improving that property, we are still involved in weekly meetings with the builder to ensure that we're going to end up with a product. And in that scenario, we all have the same goals. The architect wants to see their design come to fruition. The builder wants to deliver it on time. And they've given us a guaranteed maximum price. So there's no additional money incentives for them other than to deliver a good product. And for us, we want to be happy with the end product. So really, I think trying to get the three components all on the same page with the same goals, not fighting over dollars, because already at that point, the dollars have been decided.
So, yes, Mr. President, in terms of safety, okay, this model, does it offer an opportunity for the state, county, or whoever it may be to come in and evaluate the construction? And the reason I say that is because of what happened with Linwood, that roof just basically fell down. So I'm just, does this model allow the state and federal, whoever it may be, to oversee, make sure that we're doing it correctly, or not we, but the contractor?
Yes, each one will have an inspector of record that is hired by the district as an advocate for us. They'll have a lab of record that is the independent testing facility for their welds, for their concrete, for all their material. And then they have the DSA field inspector that will show up. The field inspector and DSA, they don't care your delivery model. They just care that it's built to the plans that they approved.
Thank you.
Or to what they want to see.
But
Thank you
inspectors,
for that.
the inspector, the DSA inspector it's a good thing, right? It ensures quality and integrity of the project. They're also a challenge sometimes, where sometimes you have a DSA inspector who has their own opinion. Even though the plans were approved by DSA, they can say, I want it more, I want bracing, more bracing. You know, say, well, that's not in the plan, that's not in the code. I need more bracing before I can sign off on this project. So I think the inspectors do play a huge role in safety, as well as our construction management folks on other projects who are there, boots on the ground every day to ensure that things are happening correctly.
So they don't see it, oh, it's a, you know, a lease back, a hard bid. No, they just want to make sure the safety. Okay, thank you for that.
All right, Mr. Rodriguez.
The fourth model we use rarely, but we do on occasion, is design build. That's when your design and your builder, they have in-house architects, they have in-house engineers. Our interior lighting project is an example of this, where they design it. It's a turnkey project because they have the ability to design it and to build it, and it's a one-shop project. For simple lighting projects, we did exterior lighting this way. We did air conditioning units on this campus this way. It has its fit. We don't use it very often, but it's a nice tool to have in the kit. And then our upcoming projects through 2025. So we have a combination of hard bid and lease-back. I think to the point where we started, most of our projects are going to be the hard bid, the design bid build. Where it's appropriate, we will add the lease-back. We don't see any design build projects over the next year, but that's not to say that we won't. So, Mr. Jamil, all right, do we have any further comments or questions?
See, after any additional questions, the attachment for the item also includes, you go back one, just this in a format. So we request your approval on the attachment with these recommendations for delivery model.
Mr.
Yeah, Mr. Lopez.
See, I think this is the reason why we asked for this, and I thank you, Mr. Chamorro, and thank you, Mr. Rodriguez, for the presentation, is because we'll take ownership, right? We make the decisions, right? And I thank you for bringing this item up for the public to see what projects are coming up, and two, the projects that we vote on, right? So thank you for this.
Okay, so lease back on soccer field and synthetic upgrade. So I guess it works. It's just, I've seen other high schools did the same thing, and this Whittier High School is getting it upcoming.
Yes. Last month we had the Santa Fe High School synthetic field and athletic upgrades recommended under a lease-back delivery model. Whittier High School is in line, as well as Lucerna High School. So this is part of the synthetic football fields for the non-stadium schools. We'll be looking at those in lease-back.
So is the choice for lease-back in these cases is because a contractor has done it before and it's just easier to do it that way?
I think it's historically dollar amount. I mean, these are the higher dollar amount projects. Again, general rule of thumb, about over $5 million. It typically, we look at it, it's not a definite decision maker on that, but for these particular projects, there's no guarantee it will be the same builder. For each of those processes, we will run a separate RFP for lease-back partner.
But in Cal High case, we're using the Lucerna vendor, correct? Or Lucerna vendor?
We are, but they went through, again, they're going through a competitive process for that, and they have, we'll be bringing a recommendation down the road for that.
Okay, if there's no questions, Secretary, call the roll.
Trustee. Oh, we don't have a motion.
It's under the new business.
Sure, but I guess he started the presentation without getting a motion in a second.
Okay, yeah. Okay, so we have a motion to approve, Mr. Lopez?
Oh, yes,
Okay.
so moved, but
Moved by Mr. Lopez, seconded by Ms. Conchola.
I do have a question.
Yes.
To Dr. Oviedo. I know there was discussion about us, partnering with Santa Fe, City of Santa Fe
Sure,
Springs.
so we can, that is.
Is that, I'm just wondering.
So that is not tied to this.
Right, I just wondered.
They are actually taking their agreement tonight to their city council meeting.
Okay.
And we will be sharing with you, and then once that happens, we'll be working on the approval with the MOU. This is going to be a conflict of interest for our attorneys because we share the same attorneys. The city of Santa Fe Springs has Olivares Madruga as their city attorney. So what we have agreed with the city is that OMLO will represent the city of Santa Fe Springs, and we will work with BBK to represent Whittier Union on this particular case. And OMLO has worked with BBK and regularly gives them work when there's overflow. So that's how we will resolve that conflict of interest.
They have a good relationship with BBK. Thanks.
Can I ask a clarifying question? Sure. So, Dr. Oviedo, is that the arrangement to work with BBK, is that specifically for the Santa Fe High project?
It will only be for an MOU with the city of Santa Fe Springs where they have agreed to pay for the exterior lighting on that Santa Fe Athletic Fields project.
Thank you.
Call the roll.
So, call the roll.
Trustee Sanchola.
Aye.
Trustee Castaneda Gallegos.
Aye.
Trustee Lopez.
Aye.
Trustee Mendez.
Aye. Okay, consider approval of amendment to administrative contract for the superintendent.
And to share a readout as required by code is Ms. Fitzgerald.
Okay.
Good evening. So tonight bring forward the amended contract for Superintendent Dr. Monica Oviedo. Term of employment, so effective July 1, 2024. The term of the agreement is hereby extended through and including June 30th, 2028. And compensation with a satisfactory evaluation by the board. Superintendent's annual salary shall be increased by the same percentage increase in salary and bonus granted to any employee exclusive bargaining unit. If bonus is granted, it shall not increase the base salary. The base annual salary of the superintendent shall be $336,933.12.
And 12 cents.
To the
12
head.
cents?
Mr. Lopez? Do you have your hand up?
I'm just looking for the 12 cents.
Oh, okay.
If you need a motion on behalf of the move.
Second.
Yes, move second, Ms. Conchola. Discussion?
On the report, I'm just seeing the compensation of, you said 300.
$336,933.12. It's on the readout.
On the readout?
Mhm.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, it's not on the
Yeah.
the amendment.
It's not on the amendment.
It's not, because it's not a change, it's not an increase. That's just sharing with you what currently exists.
Oh, the current salary. Got it.
Aren't we required to post that? To put it on the agenda?
Just to
As long as its financial terms are announced, you satisfy it because you're not changing those terms of the contract. The amendment is only changing specified terms.
Okay.
So you're in compliance.
Oh, great, okay.
Thank you. Thank you,
Okay,
Mr.
Secretary, call the roll.
But before we
I'm
do,
sorry.
may I just add a comment?
Yeah.
I appreciate that. I want to be able to affirm the work of our superintendent, and we recognize that it's our responsibility to work with our superintendent to make sure that goals are being achieved, that the right direction is being pursued. And I just wanted to thank Dr. Oviedo for her leadership through a very busy year.